Before we do that, we can do some other things with it in ChatGPT, though. Let's linearly interpolate the revenues and the missing values and start maybe doing some math functions or other things in ChatGPT. As a meta tool, you can already see how quickly and how easily it's doing those things for us. So if you didn't know how to necessarily do that in Excel, in layman's terms, again, you can ask ChatGPT, and ChatGPT comes back with at least something approximating what you wanted. You can then take that, you can paste it into Excel, and that's a great way to work with ChatGPT. In this case, instead of just text as an output, we asked it for a table, and there's a lot of different outputs, as you're going to see, that you can ask ChatGPT to produce. There's a lot of different ways to input data into ChatGPT as well. Okay, ChatGPT 3.5, perfectly capable of accepting different types of inputs and producing outputs like tables or code or other things that you might command it to do. But ChatGPT 4 offers increased power. And again, we're going to have to go to GPT-4. This is a $20 a month option through ChatGPT Plus, and we're going to have to select the code interpreter beta version. Now, what this allows us to do is input files. You can do that in two ways. You can either hit the plus button and select the file traditionally, or you can just click and drag that file in. And here's the file we're going to work with. This is electrical wholesaling's list from both 2022 and 2012. And let's see if ChatGPT can help us do a little bit of analysis and comparison between the two lists. Let's ask it very generically. Let's do some ideation and creativity here. How might we analyze the file that we give it? Let's just see what it can do with a very generic request and a single file and its ability to perhaps make some sense of it. So it's giving us a list, and this is actually quite a good list that it's giving us of ways that we can analyze this data set. We can do some descriptive statistics, we can do some trending, distribution analysis, etc. We're going to pick a few of these different ways, and we're going to look at different ways that ChatGPT can help us analyze these files. First off, let's just have it create a simple line graph for us. And that's one of the really cool things about Code Interpreter, is that with this data set, ChatGPT can now produce outputs like graphs in Excel. So right now it's making sense of the file. You can almost see it thinking and using words in a way that promotes the next train of thought. And we have a line graph of the firm by position, firms 1 through 150, and what their annual revenue looks like. You can actually see some things right away from this market, including how it has continued to actually consolidate, where fewer and fewer players own a larger and larger share of the market. We can ask it for different types of graphs. Now what we've done is we've asked it to actually label the firms and create a bar graph, and you can see it's a slightly different picture. And again, our concept of trial and error and iteration is taking hold here and producing output as well. We can label the charts a little differently. Now, many of you already know how to do this in Excel, but the vast majority of you probably don't do this very often in Excel. And instead of having to relearn those skills, in layman's terms, you're letting your meta tool, ChatGPT, do the work for you. In this case, we're just labeling the y-axis and currency. There's so many different ways that you can change colors, change spacing, and do an abundance of things manipulating these graphs. Let's add a few more things to the mix. Instead of just having it label us the y-axis differently, let's have it graph by position. Come on, here we go. Let's add the 2012 data as a side-by-side bar on the graph. And let's color the 2022 data blue, and let's color the 2012 data orange to start to generate some contrasts. And let's make it a little bit more visible. So let's only show the top 30. If you were creating a graph with a zoom section, you might use it for that purpose as well. Let's create the top 30, and let's see how 2012 stacks up against 2022. Again, in layman's terms, we're asking it. It's working for us behind the scenes. And you can start to think about the various types of graphs and the vast amounts of data analysis that you can use ChatGPT as a meta tool to prepare charts and graphs, and how fast it does this for you. Here it is. Outputting the 2012 versus the 2022 data. Again, this is both in nominal terms, not real terms. This isn't inflation-adjusted data, so there's quite a bit of spread in those 10 years, but we're going to see some interesting things actually come out from this sector's data itself as an aside. Now, let's put a line graph above this bar graph. Now, some of you have seen that where you've kind of two graphs combined into one in a secondary axis, but again, some of you might know how to do that easily. Some of you might struggle with it. Our meta tool, it turns out, can do this quite easily. If we ask it to show the change, the delta between 2012 and 2022, and the difference in each of the firm's performance, let's see if it gets this right. And the first time, it can show you which firms grew and by how much, which firms stayed relatively stagnant, and which firms might have actually shrunk in size. So at the end here, in a couple of minutes, we've done something that a lot of infrequent Excel users would struggle to do in an hour or two. And we've created a graph that you can use just to analyze data, that you can use for a PowerPoint presentation, that you can copy and paste in. And it's just an illustration of ChatGPT making sense of an Excel spreadsheet that we fed it through GPT-4 and Code Interpreter, and in layman terms, asking it for an output, for a graph. And you can imagine how many different data sets, how many different visualizations, charts, graphs, other things you might be able to do with this incredibly powerful feature. If you're in the competitive world of B2B sales, imagine doubling or even tripling your sales productivity. Today is not the time to think incrementally. Massive step changes are possible today due to new powerful AI tools like ChatGPT. And not only are these tools immensely powerful, they're simple and they're easy to learn by anyone. Yet so many sales professionals aren't even using them, and those that aren't realizing anything close to their full potential. Digital Moneyball, we aim to change that. Check out our new groundbreaking training course, ChatGPT for B2B Sales. This new online, on-demand course will radically increase your productivity and transform the way that you sell. And for a limited time, we're offering it at an amazing introductory rate of only $89. It's an unmatched value. Act now, supercharge your sales. Learn more at digitalmoneyball.com. We'll see you in the course.